You mount, okay, target is temporarily busy. Why is it busy? Well, root is currently using that folder. How do we know? Well, pwd, I am in that folder. So let's go get out of there. And now let's try to unmount it. You see, I have successfully unmounted it. But what has happened to this file that I have created here, this directory that I have created? What happened to that? So let's go back to mnt and do ls. You see, it is no longer there. It is quite literally gone. Why is it gone? It's not actually deleted or anything of a kind. It's still in existence, but the partition has been unmounted and it is no longer used by the system. Since it is no longer used by the system, the file is no longer accessible to us until we actually mount the drive again, mount the partition again. So let's go ahead and do that, but this time let's go ahead and create a new folder in which to mount it. So this is also a nice feature. You can pretty much create these folders for yourselves, specify their location, or just type in mkdir in mnt. And this one will be, what shall we name the folder? I do not know. Let's see, what do I have on my table? Nah, that would be stupid. Let's just do Udemy. That seems fine. So we have a folder called Udemy now. If I do ll, you will see that there is a folder Udemy here that has been created there. Let's go ahead and type in the mount command again. I'm so lazy with this typing. Prefer to use these things in this fashion. Excellent. So it says mount space /dev /sdb2. And where shall we mount this? Well, mnt Udemy L, and if we enter Udemy now, ls, you will see that the directory that we have created previously does indeed exist there. So it's, hey, this directory will exist anywhere where on any mount point where the partition has actually been mounted. Fairly simple, no big deal there. You just type in the command, you type in mount, you type in the partition here, and then you type in the mount point here. As long as you have the permissions, as long as the permissions are right, this shouldn't be a problem. But for example, if I try to, well, let's dismount it. So you mount, I'm gonna have to exit this first. So you mount Udemy. You see, I can also type umount Udemy. I don't need to type in the partition at all, type in the partition name at all. Rather, instead, I can just type in umount Udemy, and now I will be able to actually go ahead and create an error message for you. So let's go ahead and try to mount this to a non-existent folder. Let's type in test here, or even better, I do not exist. Let's put it so, and there you go. It says mount point I do not exist does not exist. It is not there, so it won't be able to mount it until we first create it. It won't create it for us. Please keep that in mind. That is a common error encountered by people in general. And as I was saying, if you have a USB drive or something like that, well, just type in fdisk-l and find it here. It can be a little bit disorientating. It's nothing too difficult. You see here it says dev sdb2, dev sda. You can also see the size, and usually by that size you can figure out which disk, which one of these is actually your USB drive. Also, generally people know the partitioning schemes of their disks, so they know that it's not STB, they know that it's not SDA or anything of a kind, because that's something that they've created. So as soon as they see something new, they know it's a USB drive. But honestly, the easiest way that I have found is simply by looking at the size, and then you will be able to also see that it has some sort of partitioning scheme, like I don't know, it will say VFAT, NTFS, or Windows, something of a kind. Doesn't really matter. You will be able to see it there, recognized. It literally stabs the eyes. So let's go ahead and clear the screen. But you see, these things are temporary mounts. This mount will not survive system-wide reboot. what we need to do is create permanent mounting points for these. We've created mounting points, but we need to tell the system, we need to tell the kernel, okay, I would really like it if you would mount these partitions at boot time. That would be really nice, because I don't really feel like typing it in every time I log in. There's another way of doing this, which is not the brightest of ways. You can set up a cron job to auto-mount the partitions for you, to automate tasks at boot time or at specific times, but I do believe that we will deal with automated tasks in process management part. For the time being, let's go ahead and edit the etc fstab. So vim/etc fstab, press enter, and there you go. We've just opened up this file, and in this file we have some useful information here. For example, you see here for the mounting of this particular partition where it says boot, UUID has been used. Now this is unique. This will not change, and this will stay the same. Device names might change depending on the system configuration, or depending if things change in general on servers or something of a kind. There are situations when this happens, but we don't need to go into them now. Just know that this does not change and that this might change. So keep that in mind. Also, there is another simpler fashion of actually doing this, more akin to our human understanding. You all remember that we have specified the labels for our disks, and we can actually have a look at the labels because I'm not actually sure what they are, or let's say that I'm not sure what they are. So let's just type in blkid, and there you go. We have our partitions listed here, so 4 of them. Down below we have some other things as well. We will deal with them at a certain point of time. Do not worry about it. Here it says UUID for SDA1, and then it gives us the UUID, and then it says type XFS. But let's go ahead and see SDB1, which is more interesting to us. Where we have a label. You see SDA1 and 2 do not have labels. SDB1 does have a label. It says coffee, or the one that we have created during the previous tutorial, if I'm not mistaken, it says spoon. I know, strange labels, right? I would advise you to give some sort of meaningful labels to these partitions so that you actually might later on know what they are or what their purpose is. But for the time being, I just named them coffee and spoon because those are the 2 things that I literally saw in front of myself on my table. Again, we have the same information that follows it. You have the UUID, and then you have the type XFS, but we are interested in this part. So let's take this label, for example. It says spoon. Let's go back to etc fstab, and here we will say, okay, we want to insert first, bring me to the end, enter, and let's type in label. I could have just as easily typed in dev and so on and so forth, just typing in the partition name, but no, that's not really the preferred way of doing this. Probably one of the best ones is UUID, but the simplest for us to understand is, in all likelihood, the label. So let's use the label in this example. Type in label equals spoon, and the mount directory shall be mnt. Okay, we are using this for testing purposes, but feel free to make your own. Udemy. The file system type will be XFS. You can just set the mount options to defaults. There is literally no need to do anything here, and you can feel free to copy the rest of the stuff here. Shouldn't do any harm, really. Let's just go ahead and paste it here. The columns here are not properly aligned.